man's first arrival.
Did you ever wonder what it would be like to be one of the last people on Earth? Who would you see?
There's nobody. I mean, there's nobody.
What would you do?
Put it another way, what are you trying to forget?
I can't remember anything. There's a subtle difference.
But it seems that you remembered to take strong doses of potentially dangerous substances as yet unidentified. Do you have any on you? Is your supplier on level 3 in Little Paris amongst the non-humans?
What have you got against non-humans? Some of them are very decent beings.
You, for example.
That cold ain't the weather. That's death approaching.
They're tearing through everyone's home.
I thought he was going to get a fan down there.
Igor? Thought I told you to wait in the dungeon? Igor? There's no rest for the wicked.
Now, normally, I think a rap like this tends to, if you have to pigeonhole it, to come down on the side of pessimism. But I am not pessimistic. I see everything as though it were integrated and connected, and there is an unfolding and a plottedness about our situation. It's not for nothing that at the very pinnacle of the age of faith in the machine and science and male dominance and projection of strategic weaponry and so forth and so on, that there should come from the gentler societies of the world, from the rainforests and high deserts of the world, the news of these plans. You know, the Western mind, the cataloging mind, the Cartesian mind in its frenzy to locate, list, isolate, and define everything, carried these plants and substances over the past 150 years into the confines of our society, and they are much like Trojan horses, left there by the bedraggled, beat-down, disenfranchised, third-world shamanic people, to be found by the white-coated priests and priestesses of science, and to be brought back into the laboratory to be picked apart for their efficacy in treating addiction or overcoming neurotic behavior or something like that.
We can't get in there. Can't
Sexual ambulance.
At the bottom, behind the waterfall, there's an entrance. Used to be an exit.
Sit in a cup of powdered whale parts. Oh, whale. Aha! Yes. Whale parts. Huh?
But of course, the neurotic behavior that they impact upon is neurotic behavior so wide, so deep, so revered that it is in fact cultural values themselves.
Van outside will take you to the train station. Just take it one day at a time, honey. From the beast.
I can feel it coming. Oh, man. I need you.
You see, what is happening, I think, is it's really bigger than psychedelics. It's bigger than human evolution. We are not making the waves in this ocean. We are corks riding the waves of the ocean. But we are privileged by perhaps chance alone to occupy a unique moment in the history of the universe. A moment when the universe goes through some kind of self-transforming, evolutionary, inflationary expansion. That's what's happening. I mean, it's been happening for a long time. It depends on where you pull back to get your perspective. One could say, looking at the universe in general, that this planet has been favored from the very beginning.
Doses of potentially dangerous substances as yet unidentified.
Talk a lot about your experience being abducted by aliens in Kathmandu, because you went to Kathmandu to be abducted by aliens, because you learned this amazing and beautiful lesson about essentially unity consciousness on our planet and in our solar system.
The conclusion of what these events really are, because what I went through was an event that anyone who's been through any kind of shamanic training, anyone who's been, you know, caught up in satanic cults, anyone who has had this peak experience basically went through what I went through. And I think it's an event that's just a kind of perspective. You know, when kids are 5 years old, they can't see perspective in paintings, they don't understand it. But when they get to 7, they do understand perspective. And I think there's a state of human consciousness that's, and I hesitate to call these things higher, because I think they're just nested states of consciousness that are all very useful. But there is a state that elevates us above the 4 dimensions of space and time that we traditionally inhabit. You know, so we've got our 3 space ones and we've got 1 time thing that we can only move through physically in 1 direction. But there is a perspective that allows us to see beyond that. And what that perspective suddenly reveals is that the universe is it's a frozen 4-dimensional block of space-time. And everything that has ever happened is continually occurring simultaneously all the time.
Is the moment on the far side of the moon.
But actually, they specialised in making slides which did move.
That by 1 billion years ago, the discerning could tell that this was a planet going places. But certainly, by 500 million years ago, it was clear that this was a planet going places. One complex animal life form gave way to another. Catastrophes, yes, but never catastrophes so total that the Enterprise was wiped out. We know that 65 million years ago, a catastrophe, an asteroid, a planetesimal impact occurred on this planet. Nothing larger than a chicken walked away from that on this planet. A bad day, you say. But were it not for that bad day, we would still be the egg-eating shrews at the edge of the reptilian garden party. These marvelous flowering plants chock full of psychedelic alkaloids, none of them would have existed. The flowering plants and the higher mammals all arose in the wake of this planet-scouring catastrophe.
The idea was transcendental materialism would be to say, okay, you guys, if you don't believe in magic, let's just talk about what science says is factual.